So good evening, everybody. I am very happy to first thing that my teacher and Professor Dr. M.B. Kavita is here. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, Dr. Kavita. Happy to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So with that, I would like to start today's webinar session. Welcome all of you. I would like to welcome all of you to Ashtanga's webinar series. Before starting about the introduction, I would ask Mr. T.R. Shashi Warrier, the Executive Director of KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private Limited, to give a brief introduction on KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private.
Thank you, Dr. Girish. So before talking about KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private Limited, I would like to take a minute to mention a person who passed away yesterday, a doyen of Ayurveda, a person highly respected all over the world probably. He was a Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Dr. P.K. Warrier, who was the Managing Trustee of Ayurvedishala Kottakkal. My respects to him. I'm sure all of you will be feeling that the respect towards him. He has lived for 100 years and served Ayurveda for more than 70 years. So a great life that he has had. So salutes to him. Why I mentioned this? There are many reasons, many ways we are connected. So one of the major reasons that I'm mentioning this here is that my grandfather, K.S. Warrior, studied in that great institution called Ayurvedishala, where they had a college called Ayurvedya Padashala. So, Vaidya Padashala, where he studied his Ayurveda and he came to Trichy. So, Dr. K.S. Warrior, who was a founder of K.S. Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics Private Limited, was born in 1907, 14 years elder to P.K. Warrior himself. He learned Ayurveda in Kottakkal. He completed his course in 1933 after he studied Sanskrit and astrology and then Ayurveda. After a rigorous program, he came to Trichy in 1936. He started his own institution called Ashtanga Ayurveda Shala in Trichy. So way back in 1936, there was a problem of supply of medicines from Kottakkal. So he was depending on medicines from Kottakkal Ayurvedishala. And that was a time of World War II. And he was not able to procure medicines through train. So P.S. Warrior himself told K.S. Warrior that you can manufacture your own products in your own place. And thus he started his institution called Ashtanga Ayurveda Shala, where he started manufacturing Ayurvedic medicines. He started manufacturing medicines and slowly this manufacturing unit started growing. And today we are manufacturing about 300 odd products with involvement of over 450 raw materials. And we are committed to this profession for such a long time, 85 years now. And so we are branching out to various places. We have practice in various places in Trichy right now. We are not practicing anywhere else, but our medicines are available all over South India. We are slowly moving towards, we are looking to move towards North India also. So in South India, we are majorly supplying in Karnataka and Kerala, as well as Tamil Nadu, of course. We are yet to enter Andhra and slowly we are entering Maharashtra also. So we are basically manufacturing classical products in the sense, I'm sure the Ayurvedic doctors must be knowing what classical products are. Classical products are from the classical texts of Ayurveda, and they are a time-tested group of medicines. We are also manufacturing proprietary products which are from out of our own experience of Dr. K.S. Warrior himself and his sons. One among them is here today, Dr. T.V.N. Warrior. You can see him there. So he will also be interacting at the end. So we are a family-owned, family-run concern. We have been in practice for over 85 years, and we are doing our best to spread this science called Ayurveda. We're proud of Ayurveda. We're proud of our institution also. Over to Dr. Girish.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So moving on to today, today's webinar. The present situation of living has been overturned by the coronavirus, which has deviated us from following our regular routine, whether it is our eating habits or our lifestyle. So here is where we need to plan with healthy solutions, workout routines, nutritional advice, and other activities which help us to reach the aim of better health and total fitness. So for that, we have a wonderful speaker today. The brief profile on the speaker. Dr. Mahati Sahukar M has completed her graduation from prestigious SDM College of Ayurveda and Hospital, Hassan, and post-graduation in the same institute in the subject of Swasthavarta. She is currently working as an assistant professor at Hillside Ayurveda Medical College, Bengaluru, and also as a consultant in H2O Organics, which is a US-based e-commerce platform for organics and healthcare products. Dr. Mahati has worked on the thesis topic, an in vitro study on anti-diabetic potential of Masura Yusha. Her interest in making effective treatment protocols with a combination of internal medication, dietetics, and medication methods, which have been found effective during the course of her academic period. Her research paper has been accepted by Scopus Indexed Journal, International Journal of Biology, Pharmacy and Allied Sciences, IJPBAS, which is due for publication in June 2021. Dr. Mahati has presented several papers in Ayurvedic conferences held at various places across Karnataka on various topics and has secured a gold medal in examinations of MD 2020. She has more than 3 years of experience in clinical practice and has very good knowledge of practical Ayurveda, and her master's project is selected for the International Journal of Biology, Pharmacy and Allied Sciences. Dr. Mahati's mantra is food is medicine. Her keen sense of taste, quality, nutrition and health concerns give her the ability to develop Patyahara and Kashayas, that is Ayurvedic based foods and beverages, as per requirements. Also has sound knowledge on the classical knowledge of Ashtanga Yoga. We are glad to have her as the speaker for this webinar to share her knowledge and guide us to build an ideal lifestyle. I would also like to add that I have been fortunate enough to be at the same college during her time period when she was studying. So I have been fortunate enough to know her well directly. So thank you, Dr. Mahati, for accepting our invite and being here for today's session. We would look forward to learn from you.
Thank you, Dr. Girish, for such a generous introduction. And I take immense pleasure in thanking Ashtanga Ayurveda for inviting me to share my views. So let's start. So healthy eating and living in challenging times. So challenging times is not just COVID, it can be anything. So for future also, you can use the similar rules and regulations. So healthy eating and living, the acronym becomes HEAL all by itself. So by eating healthy and living healthy, you can heal your body. So a healthy outside starts from the inside. So let's see. Immunity, immune boosters are all the most trending talks in the town. So this immunity is ruled over by 4 concepts. One is food, the other is vihara, which means your lifestyle. Then it is sleep, and I have added stress. I'll tell you why stress in my future slides. So coming to the first aspect, it is food. So the definition of food according to Ayurveda is ahriyate iti aharaha annapanadi sarvam. So annapana, it is anna is solid food, pana is liquid food. Anything which is solid or liquid, which is ingested through your throat, is called as ahara. So that is the definition which is given for ahara in our classics. So what is the importance of ahara? According to the classic, nacha aharam samam kinchit bhaishajyam upalabhyate shakyate apyanna matrena naraha kartum niramayah. So there is no medicine in the world which is equivalent to the food what you eat. And very specifically, apyanna matrena is mentioned. So matra means the quantity. So when you eat in the right quantity, then it makes the naraha, that is the man, niramaya or disease free. So there is one more quotation which says hitashi syat mitashi syat kala bhoji jitendriyaha pashyan rogan bahu kashtan buddhiman vishamashanat. So hitashi means the one who eats right. Hita ahara. So hita has the same meaning in almost all the languages. The one which is good for the body is hita. So hita ashi, that is to eat the good food which is good for your body. Mita ashi syat, the one who eats in the right quantities. Kala bhoji, so one who eats at the right time, okay, appropriate time. And jitendriyaha, so one who has the control over all the senses. So this kind of a person, it is very difficult to get afflicted with any sort of disease. On the contrary, if you practice the vice versa, if you don't practice these, there is every chance of you landing up with a disease. So coming to Ashthavidhi Visheshayatana, Ahara Vidhi Visheshayatana, this is a very unique concept in Ayurveda. So these are the 8 factors which determine your the properties of your diet. So that includes Prakriti, which are the natural qualities, Karana, which is also called as Samskara, or preparation or the process which is involved. Then Samyoga, it is the combination, Rashi is the quantity, Desha is the habitat, Kala is time, Upayoga Samstha are the set of rules in order to consume food, and Upayokta is the user or the person who consumes food. So going one by one, Prakriti, as it says, it is the natural quality of food. So like Laghu is light and Guru means heavy. So by virtue of its nature, certain foods are light to digest and certain are heavy to digest. So for an example, you have green gram or moongi dal, very light, and it is Nitya Hara, that is, it can be consumed every day. Whereas you have the black gram or the urad dal, which is heavy for digestion. So why you need to know these things? Knowing the properties, you can analyze the right utility, first thing. And the second thing, knowing the properties, you can assess the quantity of food you should be eating. And I would like to give you one more example. Like you have milk. Okay, I'm speaking about animal milk here, not the plant-based milk, because the plant milks are not natural. So the animal milk, you have different sources of animal milk, cow, buffalo. Okay, for example, if you take cow milk, you have all kinds of toned milk, skim milk, low fat milk, no fat milk. Okay, you have all kinds of milks nowadays, but they are not in their natural forms. Okay, you are altering the natural quality of the milk. You're using a lot of process, which is not good for your body. So next, coming to Karana or Samskara. Samskara in Sanskrit is defined as Samskaro hi nama gunantaradhana uchyate. So the gunantaradhana means the transformation. So by the one which transforms the food is called as Samskara. So you can take it as processing of the food. So you have unprocessed food, you have processed food, you have ultra processed food nowadays. So what were the processes which were used in the olden days? You have Agni Sanikarsha, Toya Sanikarsha. Sanikarsha is bringing in contact to. So Toya Sanikarsha is washing or soaking. Okay, when the food is brought in contact to the water, it is called as Toya Sanikarsha. Agni Sanikarsha is when it is heated or you use Agni. And you have Vasana, you add flavoring agents to the food, that is called as Vasana. You have Bharjana, that is roasting. You have Manthana, that is churning. And you have Bhajana. Bhajana, you can take it as storage, okay, different storage methods or methodologies which were used in olden days. It can be called as Bhajana. Then there is one important thing, Kala Prakasha. So the time also plays an important role. So why time plays? So generally there is a rule that you have to eat food when which is freshly prepared. So what is freshly prepared food? So within 3 hours of the preparation, if you consume the food, then it gives you the best results. So that is mentioned. So Kala Prakasha, one more example. Most of us have seen pickling. Okay, we don't consume the pickles which are freshly prepared. So we leave it for a period of time, say about 5 to 7 days. Only then the pickles are consumed. So for the pickle to be made consumable, you need a particular timing. So that is Kala Prakarsha. And more when we speak of diet, it is cooking which matters. So by cooking food, you make it lighter and you enhance the absorption. So it becomes easily absorbable. And also there are different types of cooking. So cooking can be steam cooking, cooking can be fried, cooking can be roasted. So by frying, you make the food heavier for digestion. And by steaming it, you make it lighter for digestion. So that also plays an important role. And also when you cook the food, the nutrient profile of the food gets altered. So I would like to give you an example. As Dr. Girish mentioned, my dissertation topic was on masoor dal. Okay, it was not just the dal, it was the whole grain of the masoor. So what I did, I studied different parameters of raw masoor dal as well as a classical preparation, which is masoora yusha. So yusha is nothing but 1 part of the grain and 18 parts of water. You cook it till the grains become very soft. So that is called as masoora yusha classically. So I took these two examples or these two samples. So I want to tell you one of the parameters which I studied. So we eat dal for its protein content. So there is something called as total soluble protein. That is the amount of protein which gets absorbed into your body when you ingest it. So the total soluble protein content of raw masoor dal was about 23%, and the total soluble protein of the cooked masoora yusha was 89%. So that is a huge difference, and that is possible only by cooking it. And also we should not forget that the vessels in which we cook also plays an important role. So the best vessel to cook is iron or the cast iron, or else earthen vessels. To some extent, steel is okay, but I am totally against Teflon coated non-stick cookware. Okay, that can be carcinogenic, and also the aluminium. So aluminium vessels were also widely used for cooking and still is used. So most of our pressure cookers are made of aluminium. So why aluminium is not good? Like iron is absorbed into the food, the similar way aluminium also is absorbed into the food. So what aluminium does to your body is it inhibits the intake or uptake or absorption of zinc molecules. So all of you know zinc is playing a very vital role nowadays because everybody is taking zinc supplements. So zinc is said to increase the immunity. So when there is no absorption of zinc, there is the deficiency in zinc and your immune system can be harmed. Next, coming to the samyoga. So there are two different individual food substances, but when they are combined, they act differently. So I would like to give you an example, which is a negative example. So ghee is very, very important and it is considered as a brain tonic. And also honey is also considered as nectar. So individually both are great superfoods, but when you combine honey and ghee in equal quantities, so it turns toxic, so it can damage your tissues. So that is the importance of combination. Generally you're not supposed to take milk along with fish or milk along with fruits. So whatever milkshakes we consume, it is all not a good source. So smoothies can be a good replacement because in smoothies you use yogurt, not milk. Then coming to Rashi or the quantity. So Rashi again is of two types. One is Sarvagraha, that is the whole food what you eat, and the other one is Parigraha, that is the quantity of individual substances what you take. So if we want to correlate this to the modern topic, so you can consider Sarvagraha as your balanced diet, and the parigraha as an individual component which goes into the balanced diet. Say suppose you're taking the source of carbohydrate as rice, then you're taking protein content as dal. So the amount of carbohydrate, the amount of protein what you take constitutes the parigraha. Next, it is the desha. So here, desha, according to the classics, is divided into two parts, that is Deha Desha and Bhumi Desha. Of course, Bhumi Desha is the regular habitat of the person who eats, that is where you're residing, your geographical location, as well as the habitat of the plant which you're consuming or the crop which you're consuming, where it was grown. So mostly you should consume locally grown food so that the processing will be less, the addition of preservatives will be less, and you get fresh food. And coming to Deha Desha, it is your own body. So according to your own body constitution, you should consume food. Next, it is Kala. Again, Kala can be understood in three different concepts. Firstly, it is the season. So you should eat according to the season. So all your body knows what you want in which different season. So by itself, your body will accustom to the external environment. So there is no one who will crave for hot rice rasam in amidst summer. Okay, so that is the mechanism of the body. So it knows what to ask for. So during summer, it is always liquid diet or more hydrating diet, what people tend to long for. Okay, so that is, you should eat according to the season. So there is Rutucharyas which are mentioned. For every Rutu, there are a set of diet and lifestyle modifications which are mentioned in the classics of Ayurveda. So according to the Rutus, one is supposed to eat. And the next one is age of the person. So that also comes under Kala. So the whole lifespan of an individual can be divided into three parts, that is Balavastha, then Madhyamavastha or the Yavanavastha, and the Vriddhavastha. So all the three sectors cannot have the food which are similar. In Balavastha, you need more of a nourishing diet. In Madhyamavastha, you need more of protein diet or energy giving diet, because there are a lot of wear and tear due to the activities you perform. So you need more of a protein as well as energy diet. And in the Vriddhavastha, you should always eat light, and because your digestion has already been hampered, you should eat light, and more of rejuvenating diet should be followed in Vriddhavastha. The third classification of Kala can be if at all you're suffering from any disease, which is a chronic disease, then the staging of the disease also matters. Okay, so if you're in different stages of the disease, your diet will be also different. Okay, and also the last concept is staging of the food. So like we see ripe food and unripe food. So both of the ripe and the unripe versions of the same food or the crop will have different qualities or properties. For example, if you take radish, okay, the newly harvested radish will can be used as a treatment in hemorrhoids or any anorectal diseases, whereas the radish which is old for about 3 to 4 days, okay, you can see the fibrous structure. So that kind of radish can be a cause for hemorrhoids. So that is the varied difference in the properties due to time. So that summarizes Kala. Coming to Upayoga Samstha, they are the set of rules and regulations which we will deal in the further slides. And Upayokta, last aspect or the last factor is Upayokta, the user. So the user should analyze what is good according to the Prakriti. So we have a unique concept in Ayurveda saying your body constitution. So we have 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. Based on the increase or the predominance of these 3 doshas, your body constitution is calculated. So it is the Prakriti of the person, and the digestive power or Agni Bala of the person and the place where you're staying in. Also the season. So looking into all these parameters, one should consume food. Getting back to Upayoga Samstha. Upayoga Samstha is a set of rules which you need to follow to have food. Ushnam Ashniyat, Snigdham Ashniyat, Matravat Ashniyat, Jirne Ashniyat, Virya Aviruddham Ashniyat, Ishta Deshe, Ishta Sarva Upakaranam Ashniyat, Nati Dhritam Ashniyat, Nati Vilambitam Ashniyat, Ajalpan Ahasan Tanmana Bhunjita, Atmanam Abhisamiksha Bhunjita. So we'll see what it is. Coming to the first aspect or the first rule, Ushnam Ashniyat. So Ushnam Ashniyat is you have to always eat hot food. So why hot food? According to the classic, hot food stimulates the Agni and it does Vata Anulomana. That is, there is downward movement of Vata which helps in the elimination or the excretory processes. And also it reduces the Kapha dosha. And if you see scientifically, Ushnam Ashniyat, when you heat the food, the microbes get killed. And the second thing, when you eat hot food, there is stimulation of the saliva as well as other gastric secretions which aid in digestion. So that is why always one should eat Ushnam Ashniyat, that is hot food. Next is Snigdham Ashniyat. Snigdha is unctuous, okay? So whenever there is addition of fat in your food, that becomes Snigdha Ahara or Snigdha food, okay? This fat can be either in the form of ghee or oil or any other source of fat. It need not be always direct fat. So you have fat content in almost all kinds of food. So even that is considered as fat only. So why Snigdham Ashniyat? Firstly, it increases the palatability. Secondly, like the previous hot food, it kindles the digestive fire and helps in proper elimination also by doing Vatanulomana. Then it is good for your joints and sense organs. So you must have heard about mono unsaturated fatty acids. So these balance your blood sugar levels. And also the omega-3 fatty acids, they give you a sense of fullness, which will help you not to overeat. So hence it prevents diseases like obesity. And also when you eat hot, unctuous food, it releases a hormone called as serotonin, or it is also called as happy hormone. So that will elevate your mood as well as keep you motivated. And last but not the least, when you consume dietary fat, it helps you break down your existing fat. So there is a fat burning mechanism which is activated, or fat burning pathway which is activated, which passes through the liver. So it helps in breakdown of the existing fat also. So Matravat Ashniyat. So we saw that Matra means quantity. So also depending on the Prakriti, you can analyze the quantity of the food. So one is Laghu Ahara, or the light food or easily digestible food. And the other one is, sorry. Okay, I will continue. The other one is Guru Ahara, or heavily digested, heavy for digestion foods. So in the classics, it is mentioned that if it is light for digestion, you can take it up to your own satiety levels. But when it is heavy for digestion, one should always consume it in half the quantity, or Ardha Sauhitya is the word which is mentioned in the classics. And also, like you see in my slide, the stomach can be divided into 4 different quadrants. So 2 of your quadrants should be filled with solid food, 1 quadrant with liquid food, and 1 quadrant should be left empty for the movement of the food. Next it is Jirne Ashniyat. You should always have food once the previously ingested meal is digested. So before the previously ingested meal or the food is not digested, you're not supposed to take your next meal. Again, there are different digestion times for different food items. So accordingly, you should eat. So the concept of 9 o'clock breakfast, 1 o'clock lunch, 4 o'clock snack, and 7:30 or 8 o'clock dinner is a very wrong concept, because each food has its own digestion time. Virya aviruddham ashniyat. So virya means the potency. So milk by its virtue has the cold potency, and the other picture what you're seeing is the fish. So it is hot in potency. So you are not supposed to mix up things which are of different potencies or of opposite potencies. So this can lead into a lot of disorders, mainly skin disorders. So this is one of the major factors for skin disorders. Next it is Ishta Deshe, Ishta Sarva Upakaranam Ashniyat. So Ishta Deshe here is not, you like to dine, you like Switzerland, so you go to Switzerland to dine. So here Ishta means favorable, not favorite. So Ishta Deshe, so how it should be a favorable place. It should be clean, it should be hygienic, it should be calm, quiet, and it should be devoid of all the disturbances. So that makes Ishta Deshe. Ishta Sarva Upakaranam. So Upakaranam is nothing but tools which are required to have food. So in the second picture, you can see there's a fork, there's a knife, there's a spoon. Okay. And in the first picture, you can see that there is a pickle, there is ghee. Okay. The concept is once you sit down to have your meal, you're not supposed to get up, or there should not be any distractions. Your whole concentration should be only on eating. And as you can see, Ishta Sarva Upakaranam includes the plates also. So I would like to add one point. So the plantain leaf, okay, what you can see in the first picture, it has polyphenols, which are nothing but a type of antioxidants. So once you put the hot food on the plantain leaf, it releases polyphenols, which gets mixed with the food. Okay, so that will help in preventing cancers. That is one benefit. The other benefit, it has an antibacterial property which will kill the microbes which are present in the food, if any microbes are present. And also it helps in enhancing the taste. Also, it is very hygienic, eco-friendly, and economical. So I would promote the use of plantain leaf, and other leaves are also used, like palm leaves, arecanut leaves are also used as plates. So they are better options. Nati dhritam ashniyat and nati vilambitam ashniyat. Na ati dhritam. So you should not eat too fast, or na ati vilambitam. So you should not eat too slowly also. So when you're eating food, once it reaches the stomach, there is enzyme secretion, and with these enzymatic juices, your food gets mixed and proper metabolism takes place. So when you eat very fast or very slow, what happens is the mixing of these juices will not happen properly. So your digestion is also hampered. So one should not eat very fast or very slowly. A jalpan, a hasan. That is, you're not supposed to speak, or you're not supposed to laugh while eating. So this is a very common dialogue heard in every other household. And tan mana bhunjita is you're supposed to concentrate completely on the food and you're supposed to eat it. Atmanam abhisamiksha bhunjita. So you should self-interrogate yourself whether you're really hungry or it is merely a craving. So once you understand that, you will not eat unnecessarily. So other set of rules which are told in Sushruta Samhita is you're supposed to eat solid foods first. Then you're supposed to eat the highly beneficial amalaki, that is the gooseberry, Indian gooseberry to be more specific, in the beginning, middle, and end of the meal. And you're always supposed to eat salad in the beginning of the meal, not after the meal or in between the meal. And meals should be taken in a timely manner or when hungry. Here, timely manner is not a particular routine. There is different times of digestion for different food items. So you are supposed to analyze that time and eat. Meals should be taken in the right amount, neither too much nor too less. So rules for optimum serving. So in our olden tradition, it is told as Atithi Devo Bhava. So what generally people do is when there is some guest in your house, you tend to overfeed them. You force them to eat. So always how to serve is according to one's Agni. So that person will know his digestion better than anybody else. So you should ask before you serve. Then conducive to one's doshic prakriti. So body type according to the dosha, and that which gets digested in time. That is, you should not overfeed the person. So these rules apply to oneself also, not just the guests. So every time you eat is an opportunity to nourish your body. So you should not let that go out of your hand. And you don't have to eat less, but you just have to eat right. So how to eat right? This is called as the food pyramid. So this will help in planning your balanced diet. So the base of the pyramid is the grains or the sources of carbohydrates. So the maximum amount should be your carbohydrates only. Again, there are controversies according to modern nutrition. So they say no carb diet is in trend now. So that is not the right way, because it will give you deficit of sugar, so which is not good for your brain health. So the base of the pyramid is always carbohydrate. Then the next predominantly you have to take vegetables and fruits. As you can see there, fruits have a little more portion size than the vegetables. And next it is the protein content, which again you get from meat, legumes, and also the dairy products are added in the protein content itself. And the last or the apex of your pyramid will be oils and sweets. So choose water with all these forms of food. Okay, water is a very integral part of diet. So reasons to eat healthy. You will feel more energized and have better concentration. You will heal faster from injuries. You will be at a lower risk for many diseases like diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. You will look great, glowing skin and healthy figures. You will sleep better and wake up easier. You will feel more self-confident. So summing it up, nutrition is the only remedy that can bring full recovery and can be used with any treatment. Remember, food is our best medicine. Again, that is what is told in our classics as well. So coming to the diet, okay, this is a cliche which is followed everywhere in the world as of now. And post the initial lockdown, diet has taken over, because in the first lockdown, everybody were busy making dalgona coffees, banana breads, and you tend to overeat and you have put on a lot of weight. So I would like to specify one thing. Diet is something which you can follow over a period of time. Okay, don't start a diet that has an expiration date. That is, you cannot sit and think that you can diet for 1 month or 2 months and just leave it. So what happens is there is sudden weight gain once you leave that and come back to your normal diet, and that is called as reborn weight, and it will be more than your actual weight what you have lost. So you should never do this diet. Rather, you should develop a healthy lifestyle that will last forever. So you should question yourself. So if you're following a diet, now you have diets which say lose 10 kgs in 7 days. Okay, I saw a diet which said eat bananas and you lose weight, eat cucumbers and lose weight. So okay, you will lose weight. I don't deny the fact that you will lose weight, but what will happen after 7 days? The 8th day you can't eat bananas, you can't eat cucumbers, but you have to get back to your normal diet. What happens then is there is rebound weight. So there is sudden increase in weight more than what you have lost. So that is not a healthy way. And one more thing, health is not about the weight you lose, but about the life you gain. So the concept of health equals weight loss equals lean body, that is a very wrong concept. So fitness and being fat is not being fit is a very wrong concept. So fat people also can be fit if they put in efforts. So that you should keep in mind. Next, moving on to the second concept, it is vihara or your lifestyle. So the lifestyle in the Ayurveda classics can be classified into dinacharya, that is your daily regimen, rutucharya, seasonal regimen, or sadvrittas, which are the codes of conducts. So dinacharya can be waking up in the morning. Generally, there is a rule saying that you should wake up in Brahmi Muhurta. So what is Brahmi Muhurta? It is the last Muhurta. One Muhurta, it is 48 minutes approximately. So the last two Muhurtas of the night, that is before sunrise, the last two Muhurtas, that is about 96 minutes, is considered as Brahmi Muhurta. So probable mode of action why you should get up in Brahmi Muhurta is, one is if you want to do adhyayana or studies, that is the best Muhurta. So the definition says the Brahmi Muhurta is the Muhurta in which you can attain Brahma Jnana. So that is one thing. Or more scientifically, if you have to say, there is the nascent oxygen which is present during this time. So this nascent oxygen mixes with your hemoglobin directly to make oxyhemoglobin. So it is for the oxyhemoglobin, it is easier to reach your remote tissues, which will help to repair and nourish them. So that might be the probable scientific explanation why you should get up in the dinacharya. And the rest, you have to brush your teeth, you have to take bath, and you have to give yourself a massage. Then you have to do more exercises. Okay, all these things come under your daily regimen. Then coming to rutucharya, so it is a seasonal regimen. So I am not touching more of this dinacharya, rutucharya, and sadvritas. I would give you a few tips at the end. So viharas or the lifestyle can be classified into three different segments. So one is the physical, mental, and social. So physical fitness or the lifestyle which you have to follow for the physical fitness is nothing but exercise. For the mental fitness, you have to meditate, you have to keep yourself calm, and you have to involve skillfully in whatever you do. So that will give you more satisfaction. And of course, not to forget, this is the new dimension which you have to think in, social stability. So nowadays, because everybody have thousands of followers on the social media, but not a single friend. So how you connect yourself in your surrounding or the society matters a lot on your mental health. So that is an important aspect you should think on. So in turn, healthy living can be got by regular exercises, eating better, positive thinking, and which makes you feel good. So this is a recurring process. Every process is interlinked to each other. So if you don't eat better, then you cannot feel good. If you don't exercise, then you don't eat better because you don't feel like eating. You feel like eating junk when you don't tend to exercise. So every aspect is interlinked to each other. So the fitness facts. So firstly, exercise boosts brain power. Movement melts away stress. So it takes away stress. Exercise gives you energy. It is easy to find time for fitness. So people who say that there is no time for fitness, you're just giving reasons. It is always easy to find for fitness. Fitness can build relationships. Okay. Exercise helps ward off the disease. So by mere exercise, you can ward off a lot of diseases because it in turn increases your metabolism. Fitness pumps up the heart. Exercise lets you eat more. Eat more as in, even though you overeat at times, your exercise will take care of the extra calories that you have gained. Exercise boosts performance. So when you exercise, you feel good, you feel motivated, and you can perform better in whatever you do. And lastly, weight loss is not the most important goal. So keep in mind, you have to build fitness, not lose weight. So the third aspect is nidra or sleep. So you should follow a particular regular sleep pattern. And sleep doesn't mean only to fall asleep. It also includes waking up easily. So without any trouble, one should be able to sleep as well as get up. And one needs minimum of 6 hours sleep. And this is sound sleep, okay? And the rule is say no to gadgets at least an hour before sleeping. So disturbed sleep. So when you have disturbed sleep, what are the factors which you have to think about? So your dinner time. So the earlier the dinner, the better it is for you. Before going to bed, it is always better that you of your dinner should be done. So it is 3 hours before your bedtime, you should eat. And always the quantity of dinner also matters. Whatever you eat in the afternoon, for your dinner, you should eat half the quantity, not more than that. And in case following this right dinner time, also the quantity of food, still if you're not able to sleep, then you can follow these things. Turmeric milk with nutmeg powder, so that induces sleep. Okay, the turmeric milk should be hot, okay, or lukewarm. It is not cold milk. And Rajgira laddus. Rajgira is nothing but amaranthus. So amaranthus mixed with jaggery and peanuts if you want to, and a bit of nutmeg powder. So this you will eat it in the form of laddus along with 100 ml of milk. So that will also induce sleep. And foot massages, that is Padabhyanga. Preferably, I would suggest an oil called as Himasagara Taila for foot massage. But if your body is very accustomed to cold or you get cold very quickly, then you can use normal coconut oil for your massage. And also you can use in winters, you can use mustard oil for massage or the gingerly oil. So you might get a question, what about night shift? So if you have a night shift, classically, they have mentioned that if you're awakening in the night, okay, if you're remaining awake at night, then you can complete your sleep by sleeping half time of your night sleep. So if you're sleeping for 6 hours in the night, then you're supposed to sleep for 3 hours in the day. Okay, and also very specifically they have mentioned you are supposed to sleep on empty stomach. Okay, you're not supposed to eat and then sleep. So immediately after your work, go sleep, get your sleep done, and then get up and eat something. So if you eat and sleep, it will hamper your metabolism, leading to a lot of disorders. So coming to the most important point, stress. So why stress is added in your immunity is, even though you follow all the other factors or you understand all the other factors very well and you have a perfect life, stress can ruin it all. So understand one thing, stress is purely a man-made thing and it happens due to overthinking, pessimistic approach, and of course, social media. Social media is one thing which is ruining your daily routine. So if you see the number of unlocks on your phone, you will understand how addicted you are to your phones. So the number of likes on your picture matters. And if somebody, puts a status saying that I have been traveling, you also feel like traveling, or any post related to food, you also want to make it or you also want to taste it. So that is the kind of pressure social media is putting on one individual. So what do you do? So to get away from the stress, you should always first develop positive thinking. So whatever is happening, you should let it happen the way it is happening. So look at the sunny side of any incident which is happening. Stop comparisons. So comparisons between two people or two different persons is very wrong. So you're not supposed to compare your situation with a situation of your friend or your sibling or anybody else. So two people cannot be compared on a similar or a same note. Go through a social media detox. So social media detox does not mean you uninstall all apps and sit and meditate. No, but you should definitely have a check on how much you're letting the social media affect you. So even though you are in social media, you should not come under pressure of the social media. So nowadays, depression is very common, and also they say they're very lonely. So why they're lonely? They have thousands and 2,000, 3,000 friends, and they have lot of likes on their pictures, but still they don't have one single friend with whom they can speak to, and there is no one to understand them. So that is what is happening. So that is increasing depression rates. So social media detox is a must. So social media is a boon as well as a curse. So it depends on how we use it. Follow your passion. So passion, as of now, if traveling is your passion, don't follow. But if there are any hobbies, okay, like singing, painting, any form of artwork, or if you like to write or read, please follow your passion so that you distract your mind from social media. Also, when you follow your passion, you feel happy, and when you feel happy, serotonin is released, and serotonin elevates your mood and also motivates you. So it enhances your neurotransmission also. Other thing, love your work, love your life, and also most importantly, you should love yourself and accept yourself the way you are. So that is one um, major factor which causes stress. So you want to be like someone else, or you want to do something else which you're doing already. So your whatever work you are doing was your passion some day before, but now it has changed. You want to do something with what your friend does. So don't compare. Whatever you're doing, love your work, your life, and accept yourself the way you are. Most importantly, you have to spend time with family and friends, and they are the only ones who can help you come out of all these factors or stress. So once you spend 1 hour or 2 hours with your friends or family, the condition, your mental condition just elates. So you have to spend more and more time with family and friends. Understand one thing, if you cannot do it, no one can. Okay, so you have to take the initiative to come away from stress. So coming to the take home points, so what are the lifestyles you can do? So this is not merely for COVID, this will also help you for COVID, but this any challenging time you can use the same points. Start your day with lukewarm water. The minimum amount should be about half a liter of water. Then throughout the day, you should drink water boiled with ajwain and jeera. Okay. When I say water boiled with ajwain and jeera, there is a specific amount of ajwain and jeera which goes into it, not more than half a spoon. Okay. It is not, just take jeera in your hand, pour it and boil it. No, that is not the way you do it. It is half a spoon of ajwain, half a spoon of jeera, boil the water, reduce it to half, take 1 liter of water, make it into half liter. You can drink it throughout the day. I would suggest you to drink it throughout the day. If not, at least twice before your breakfast and before your dinner. Drink it hot. So you can drink either ajwain water or jeera water both mixed or combined. And as I already mentioned, you should take more and more sources of amla, maybe in the form of juice, maybe in the form of pickles, or maybe you nowadays you get amla murabbas. You can take it in murabba, form of murabba, or you can take it in the form of a pickle. Okay, but you should make sure you include amla in your diet every day. Before food, you should always eat salt with ginger. So ginger is not 1 kg of ginger. It's just half an inch of ginger, or probably lesser than that. So what happens when you eat ginger? It aids digestion. So ginger is called as Vishvaushadha or Mahaushadha in Ayurveda. So there is no disease which cannot be treated by ginger. So that is the importance which ginger carries. So every day, if you can include ginger in your day-to-day diet, or if you are not putting it in the diet, just take lesser than half an inch of ginger, add salt to it, and eat it before, or chew it before your meal. That will enhance your digestion. And then coming to fruits and vegetables. So fruits and vegetables should be the major part of your diet. Okay, apart from the carbohydrate, though carbohydrates form the base of the pyramid, the energy which the carbohydrate give and the energy which fruits and vegetables give are different. So more amount of fruits and vegetables can be taken because they're less calorie foods. And fruits, you have a rule that you have to have fruit in an empty stomach. Okay, otherwise it will hamper the digestion. And fruits consumed as a whole is always better than juices. So almost 50% of the nutrients will be lost when you make it into a juice. So nowadays there are cold pressed juice. They are definitely better than the normal juices, but they are not as good as the whole fruit also. So eating the whole fruit is always a better option. And coming to vegetables, you can take vegetables in the raw form, in the cooked form, or in the form of a sabzi, but you should make sure you eat vegetables every day. So you get all your necessary vitamins and minerals only from fruits and vegetables majorly. And say no to processed foods. So the more the processing, the more the harm. So the lesser the processed your food is, the better it is for your health. Superfoods and millets. So coming to the concept of superfoods and millets. When I tell you the term superfood, you should understand it is a part of the food, or it is not the whole food. So super chia seeds, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, and rajgira, what amaranth, all these constitute the superfood. So they are not supposed to be consumed in the quantity of food, but they should be mixed along with the food to enhance the metabolism. And of course, millets is a very trending topic. So most of them are turning their diets into a millet based diet more than no carb diet. So millets are very good, have a lot of nutrients, but when taken in proper mixing or proper quantities. Okay, so a single millet cannot give you all the nutrients. So when you mix or combine all the millets and use it, so one day you will eat quinoa, one day you will eat kodo millet, and one day you will eat little millet. That will help you. Or every day you eat the same type of millet will not give you enough nutrition. And coming to spices and condiments. So this is one thing which you have to really concentrate on when it comes to boosting your immunity. So if immunity is something which you want, then kitchen is your laboratory. Okay, so spices and condiments. Say ajwain, you have ajwain, then you have jeera, you have turmeric, which is a best spice according to me. So turmeric, one thing you have to understand, it is not soluble in water medium. So if you want to absorb turmeric, then it should be taken along with fat medium. So that is how scientific our Indian cooking is. So turmeric is added always to the tadka. They don't add it directly to the meal. So it is always added to the tadka or the tempering, what they give. So it is because there is a recent study which was undertaken in CFTRI. So that has given a result saying that the curcumin, the active principle which is present in turmeric, is not water soluble, it is only fat soluble. So whenever you're taking turmeric, there are various recipes online now. Turmeric tea. The turmeric tea will not help you, whereas turmeric latte, which is nothing but haldi doodh or turmeric milk, is a better prescription. And as always, you can use turmeric in your cooking also. Then coming to buttermilk, so you can consume loads of buttermilk. So buttermilk not only boosts your immunity, also it can help you hydrate. So there is one saying, okay, you don't have buttermilk in the heavens. Okay, so Lord Indra is very jealous about the people on earth because they get to drink buttermilk. So that is the saying in to denote the importance of buttermilk. So it is nothing but it is equivalent to divine elixir. And if you are suffering from any skin disorders, buttermilk can work wonders. And of course, you have to exercise for 120 minutes per week, not a day, per week. At least the minimum exercise what a man or an individual does should be about 120 minutes per week. And of course, you should walk as much as you can. But the minimum amount of walk is 100 steps, which you are supposed to do after having your meal. So after your afternoon meal, as well as your night meal, you should walk for 100 steps to aid proper digestion. And of course, yoga gives you a holistic approach. So as much as you can practice yoga, then spend more time with the family and cultivate hobbies and follow your hobbies if you have already. And lastly, you can practice fasting. So fasting is not a necessary component to everybody, but if you do, it does wonders. So there are different types of fastings. One is juice diet, juice fasting, or water fasting, or just intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is one which is being followed everywhere now. I am not against intermittent fasting, but when you're following intermittent fasting, you should make sure you don't skip your breakfast. So keeping breakfast as one of the meal, you can follow intermittent fasting as well. And the most important, stop being Google doctors. So you start seeing symptoms, or you type symptom, you say you have headache, Google tells you are in the initial stage of a brain tumor. Okay, and if you are having heartburn because of the spicy food you ate, Google tells you that you are having acute pancreatitis. Okay, so I don't say it is 100% wrong, but definitely it is not 100% correct. So you should have more trust on your doctors than being a Google doctor yourself. But just merely by seeing a video of 20 minutes or 10 minutes or reading an article which is about this long, you cannot be a doctor. Please understand that, and please do go consult a doctor if you have any problem. Self-medication does not work, because it is good to know things. You can definitely read and read articles and read about your condition, but it is dangerous to think that you know everything. So please stop being Google doctors and don't graduate from your WhatsApp universities. So this is the most important take-home point for today. With this, the journey of 1,000 miles begin with one step, and start that step today. Take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live in. Eat healthy, live healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahathi. It It was an excellent session and very good take-home points. I really loved the last few points which you told. We do face that when we are practicing. We see that quite a lot of people do go into reading. Reading is fine about the aspect, but the sources are not always good. So most of the time they go to bad sources, learn bad things, and then come to us and ask on that. So one advice I could add to that is always go for peer-reviewed journals. So rather than just going for, if you want to read, just going for Google does not help. At least go to Google Scholar and do the searches. So that
Again on a Google Scholar, you will find only one-dimensional view. So whatever is the thesis or the research article, only the heading will be concentrated. The other metabolism will not be looked at. So it is always better to consult a doctor.
it's always the best.
Yeah, it is the best.
So that was a great talk. So we have a few questions, doctor. So I am seeing that quite a lot of people are interested in knowing more. So first question is, shall we move on to the questions, doctor?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So the first question is, you said when you consume edible fat, it will help in reducing body fat also. It is confusing me. The common narrative is that if you are fat, reduce consumption of fat. Please enlighten me.
So what kind of fat also matters, and how you consume also matters. So nowadays keto diet is very much in practice. Okay, people lose 20 kgs, 30 kgs only by following keto diet. So the whole principle behind the keto diet is fat cuts fat. Okay, that is the principle used. So again, when you combine fat along with a lot of carbohydrate, then it will not help you cut the fat. But when you take it in moderate quantities, okay, that will enhance the breakdown of the pre-existing fat, because there is more energy which is required to burn the fat. Okay, when you add fat into your food, that energy is being harvested. So because of that 2 spoons of ghee what you add to your rice or your rotis, there is an obvious mechanism in your body which will start harvesting fat burning mechanisms. So in that way, the existing fat also gets burnt. So that is the mechanism. So not eating, 100 grams of ghee. Again, in keto diet, what they follow is no carb diet. So it is absolutely zero carbohydrates. So they eat only fat content. That is, they have butter, they have ghee, along with they stir fry the vegetables in almost 100 grams of butter, and that will be their breakfast. So that is the form of diet which the keto diet people follow. So keto diet is a no carb diet, but again, the fat, which is very minimal in quantity, it boosts up your metabolism, and it will give you enough energy to, harness enough energy to burn the pre-existing fat also.
Thank you for that answer, doctor. I just got a picture when you said that. Yeah, all those homa kundas, the fire is actually increased when you put the ghee. So that is how it works in the body as well.
But when you pour ghee, the same fire will get extinguished. Yes. So the same rule applies here as well.
And also our acharyas have always mentioned Shadratsayukta ahara should be something which you should be concentrating on. You should have all the 6 tastes in your food.
Correct. That was a point which I missed. Thank you.
So the next one is how we can apply Ashta Ahara Vidhi in clinical aspect.
So this will be more when you're planning a diet for a normal individual, okay, and also the disease individual. So the same factors of Prakriti, Karana, Rashi, Samyoga, or Desha, Kala. So I mentioned the staging of the disease. There are different diets which are mentioned in different stages of the diseases, and also in different age groups. So I think by following what all I said in the previous slides, you will get a more clear-cut picture of what to put, where to put, and how to put. So that is how you can utilize it. So that if I start telling you how, giving examples, that's again, that will take one or more sessions. So I would like to restrict to this answer.
We'll surely have another session as well, doctor. I see that lots of people are very happy with your talk. They would be wanting more of that. So the next question is, as age advances, many of the persons get stuck with constipation problem. How to get rid of it with food habits?
Okay, firstly, hydrate yourself, drink loads and loads of water, and drink vegetables which have more fiber. So dietary fiber plays a major role in the excretion process. So in your intestine, when there is more of fiber content, it just pulls out all the toxins, and that is how it gets eliminated. So on a commoner term is known as roughage. So roughage, what you eat, is very, very important. So in case you're eating well or drinking water, still sometimes what happens, there is no proper elimination process which is happening. So firstly, maintain your sleep pattern properly. That is one major factor which will affect the stool metabolism in the elders. You don't tend to pass stools because of disturbed sleep. So take care of your sleep pattern, and you can drink hot water, okay, at the bedtime. Even better, you can take turmeric milk at bedtime, hot turmeric milk with bedtime. You can even add a spoon of ghee. So this Ghrita Siddha Shira, or the hot milk along with ghee, also aids good elimination. And if all this is not working, then you can take Anuloma DS, tablet Anuloma DS, one tablet at night, just before your bedtime, and that too with lukewarm water.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. So the next question is, how many eggs in a week is okay?
That depends on how you work out. So generally, if you are working out very well, you can take 2 to 3 eggs a day. Or if you're not doing any sort of workout, not even walking, then I would say 3 to 4 eggs a week. Okay, egg is a very good source of protein. It is called as a complete protein or a reference protein because it has all the 9 essential amino acids. So you can definitely take egg, but that is directly proportional to the workout you do.
Thank you, doctor. So the next question is, if immunity is what you want, kitchen is your laboratory. Well said. So that is not a question. So somebody has given kudos to you. Then what is the right time of the day to fast?
So you have, see, in Ayurveda, the concept of Dvikala Bhojana is mentioned. So you will eat only twice a day. So one will be your meal in the morning and one will be in the night. Okay, night, not 11:30 at night. So it is early night, which just after the sunset, you can have your dinner, and within 3 hours of waking up, you can have your breakfast. So you should not leave your body without any fuel for a longer duration. So if you all have vehicles, so if you don't add fuel to your vehicles for a longer duration of time, eventually the machine or the engine will break down. So it is the same thing. Intermittent fasting also food is fuel. Okay, so when you don't add fuel at the right time, your engine, that is your body, also breaks down. So breaking down is not losing weight, it hampers the metabolism. So you should have breakfast and early dinner or supper, to be more specific.
Thank you, doctor. Actually, yes, when the breaking down is happening, that is not the losing weight. You might actually gain weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next question is, can we consume fruits along with meals?
Fruits along with?
Meals, along with meals.
Okay. If at all you are consuming fruit in all part of your, your meal, you should eat your fruit first and then eat your meal with a gap of about 5 to 10 minutes at least. I would prefer you to eat the fruits early in the morning and on empty stomach, or as a snack at about 4:30. Once you have completed your meal at about 1:30, take a buffer of 3 to 3.5 hours. Then you can have fruits when your stomach is empty. That is the ideal way of eating fruit. But if you want to include fruit in each meal of your day, this is the way you can do it.
Thank you, doctor. So the next question is, what is the alternative for rice to be healthy without gaining much fat?
Well, I don't believe in the concept of leaving your rice to lose weight. You should use rice in the moderate quantities. So if you see our Indian diet, rice is very predominantly used. You have rice in idlis, you have rice in dosas. Morning you eat dosa, you eat idli. Afternoon you eat rice, and night you eat the same rice. So stick to rice once a day. Okay, so you need not replace rice to lose weight, but you should take it in moderate quantities. Say a bowl of rice with everything in a day will not cause any sort of weight gain. And in case you want to replace, you can use millets, again the combination of millets, and you can use boiled rice or the red rice, raw rice, which is very predominant in Kerala or Mangalore cuisine. So that is one of the best substitutes, if at all you want to substitute. But otherwise, I don't feel there is any need to substitute rice.
Thank you, doctor. So the next question is it good to eat moong dal soaked in water daily?
Moong dal need not be actually soaked, but again, soaking for a particular time. You should not germinate the moong dal. That can cause severe acidity on a longer run, but you can definitely soak the moong dal for about half an hour to 1 hour, maybe up to 3 hours. That will not cause any harm. You can definitely soak and eat. That will actually increase the absorption and the nutrient profile of the moong dal as well. And there is something called as a phytate. Okay, phytate is a chemical constitution which will hamper your metabolism. It is dangerous. So once you soak any grain, then the phytate content is actually reduced. So it is always good to soak the dals or the grains before use. But for a very stipulated time, you should not let it germinate.
Thank you, doctor. Why it's hard for me to skip meals at night than morning in intermittent fasting?
That is mere craving. Okay, but at the end of the day, you have your energy is all gone. So you want more and more energy, and generally when you have craving for night food, it will be a high calorie diet. You want to go to the fridge or go to your kitchen and grab all the high calorie diet. So it is of no use fasting since morning. You go eat a packet of chips, you go eat juice, you go eat drink aerated drinks, so you eat chocolates. So you think chocolates will not, one chocolate would not give you any harm, but definitely the calories which a chocolate can amount to is way higher than eating a bowl of rice. So night cravings are because of your energy reduction in your energy levels. You feel like eating more at night. That also indicates that you're not eating right in the morning.
Thank you, doctor. Okay, there are a few comments. Thanks, ma'am. Excellent presentation. Thank you, doctor. I would like to state here that the link for the feedback form is put in the chat box. So you can all put your feedbacks. The feedbacks help us, as well as that is one way of when you enter, we get the details and we can give you the certificates as well for attending the webinar. Please give us 24 hours for the certificates to reach you. So there is another comment. Thank you, Dr. Mahati, for an excellent and informative talk. Like your linking of recommendations for scientific basis, what kind of food can I have to improve my B12 levels? So
B12 is generally not found in plant sources. So you have to take your vitamin B complex or B12 supplements in order to increase your B12 levels, or if you're a non-vegetarian, by eating eggs and meat, fish, lean meat rather, red meat or lean meat, whatever you call, that can increase level of B12.
Thank you, doctor. So, Dr. Mahathi, I understand breakfast is important, but is it okay to skip dinner when not hungry?
Totally fine. Totally fine. You can rather stick on to some raw salad, or I wouldn't suggest raw salad, but if you can boil vegetables and eat, that would be a great dinner. Or you can stick to soups. Otherwise, it is not needed. I mean, if you're not hungry, don't eat.
Yes, doctor. So actually, our acharyas have always said that listen to the body. So if the body asks for it, please give it. Otherwise, it is not needed. One thing. Second thing is, as Dr. Mahathi was mentioning, cooked food is more mentioned in our texts rather than raw vegetables. So I think that is something which we can take up as a take-home point here. Again, there was a question on any diet for vitamin B12. Then there was another question, any diet for improving iron and zinc levels, ma'am?
So majority of your iron and zinc you get from having your normal vegetables and fruits. So that is why I was telling, add more and more fruits and vegetables in your diet, and don't stick on to one particular fruit or vegetable. Have a variety of it, and green leafy vegetables, they are very, very good. So one thing, you have to clean them very well, because the leafy vegetables which we get now, they are not grown in proper places. So clean them, but use a lot of them. So they add a lot of dietary fiber as well as the nutrients.
Thank you, doctor. The next question is, digestion post-infections, especially COVID, is largely compromised. Any suggestions on improving that, doctor?
So you have to start increasing your metabolism. So to increase your metabolism, you have to start exercising. So post-COVID, it is, I have seen a lot of cases where there is weight gain post-COVID. You will have lost weight during the process of COVID, but you tend to gain weight after COVID. There is bloating of the abdomen after COVID. There is a lot of hair loss after COVID. These are some symptoms which we have encountered in patients of COVID. And also the patients of post-COVID, they have a lot of weakness. So they are not, it is a kind of lethargy which follows post-COVID time. So what you have to do is, there is no other way. You have to increase your metabolism. So to increase your metabolism, you can start drinking hot water or the jeera and ajwain water, whatever I have told you before. Throughout the day, you can replace water with ajwain or jeera water, and preferably ajwain water, because it is good both for your respiratory system as well as digestive system. So that is one thing. And the other thing, eat right, and eat right in the right quantities. So don't tend to overeat. Just maintain your quantity. So always eat in moderate quantities, and eat only when you're hungry. Okay, don't eat for the sake of eating. Eat only when hungry. And of course, I don't want to suggest any medication. So by following these principles, you can definitely increase your metabolism or boost metabolism. And again, loads of fruits and vegetables, and take protein content, the dal or legumes. So don't germinate. I am against germinating or sprouting, but you can definitely soak and you can take.
Thank you, doctor. It is not just Dr. Mahathi who's saying about being against the germination factor. It is mentioned in our classical texts that it is not exactly good for the body. There might be quite a few people who would be shocked by this news, I guess. The next question is, I couldn't find high protein foods except soya chunks. Suggest some foods, ma'am.
Actually, more than soya, moong dal has better protein content. So you can have all the plant-based. If you want plant-based protein, then you can start consuming legumes, except for Kabul chana. That is the chana masala, that white chickpeas. So that is not a good source. And peas, green peas. So except for these two, you can have almost every possible legume, which will help you give your protein. And if you're a non-vegetarian, of course, the red meat is the best source. And drink milk at least twice a day. So it is not half a liter of milk, restricted to 200 ml per one time. So you can take about 400 ml of milk. Again, if your digestion is proper. Otherwise, if you want your digestion also to be aided, you can add a pinch, or an inch of ginger, boil that milk, and you can drink. So that would not cause as harm as the normal milk would hamper your digestion. So that is one thing. And again, egg. You should not forget egg when you are asking about proteins. So there are amino acids, which are the basic units of proteins. So egg is egg is a food which has all the essential amino acids. So it is also called as reference protein, as I mentioned earlier. So egg is also a very good source of protein.
Thank you, doctor. So one of the earlier questions, I was just reminded of something when you said ajwain water. So ajwain is sometimes distilled and made as an arka. Arka is one of the good medication methodologies found in our texts. So one such arka, ajwain arka, is very good for digestion. So that is also available. Even Ashtanga has something called as omadravakam, which helps in such cases. Just wanted to add that. So moving on to the next question, I think I have only 15% body fat. Is it good or not, ma'am?
So that depends on the other parameters as well. So I would need to analyze your other parameters. I can't just comment on the single parameter. So that is an incomplete information, and I wouldn't like to comment on it.
Yes, doctor. Actually, according to Ayurveda, dietetic advice as well as such body composition advice, all is done through a lot of detailing by the doctor. So there is the Ashtavida Pariksha, there is Dashavida Pariksha. This is very much tailor-made for each person. So even though you do not have health issues, you can still go to the Ayurvedic doctor, because the Ayurvedic doctor is not a person who's just going to cure you. He is also going to give you advice. He or she is also going to give you advice on healthy living. So that you can exactly see here. That's why today Dr. Mahati is there today to give a basic outline of this. And people specifically in her subject, Swastavrita, they are the best people to go to for such advice. So moving on to the next question, literally what is meant by empty stomach? After drinking water, is it called as empty stomach?
Yes. Drinking cold water would not be preferred. You can drink lukewarm water. I don't say hot water, but definitely lukewarm water would do the job.
Very true, doctor. Very true. So lukewarm water is actually advised everywhere in Ayurveda. And the warmth is again very personal, individual. Some people would like it slightly warmer. Some people would like it. There is a regular usage in Kannada, I guess. So ugru becha neeru. Yes. Yes. So the next question, also speaking about rice, does brown rice, so-called diabetic rice, really help?
I don't call brown rice diabetic rice. There is nothing called diabetic. Brown rice has definitely more fiber content than the white rice, because white rice is more polished, but definitely it is not diabetic friendly.
Thank you, doctor. So there is a comment. Thank you, doctor. Very informative webinar. Dr. Kavita ma'am has also mentioned something. It's better to improve your metabolism than stuffing many things. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for that advice.
And I would like to thank my guru, Dr. Kavita MB. It is the same path, her footsteps that I'm following. Thank you so much, ma'am.
She has been the one to show us the path on dietetics and how important
Yes.
Swasthavrita is for us.
Yes, and she's the one who has actually proved. So generally there is, if you belong to the Ayurveda fraternity, Swasthavrita means yoga. That is the general notion which most of them have. But actually breaking that notion, ma'am is the first person, because she immensely takes interest in dietetics, and that is where I have got it from. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks for being there always.
Yes, she has also added, so moderate eating is the key. Undergo seasonal purification based on your prakriti. Very good advice, ma'am. That's what we would also like to add here to all the people who seek good health. Another comment is from somebody. Thank you for informative session. Nice. Very informative. Thank you. Another comment. There is a question. I am a vegetarian. Is B12 supplement is the only way for me to improve?
Unfortunately, yes.
Very true, doctor. So the next point is, firstly, I would like to thank Ashtanga Ayurvedics team for organizing such a session, as well as Dr. Mahati for giving us insights to improve our health system. Looking forward for more sessions to adopt healthy life pattern, leading to healthy and happy life. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, we would be keeping such webinars on maintaining health. The whole point of the webinars for being for everybody, the general public, as not just for the doctors, is that we need to give people the idea that Ayurveda is not just restricted to curing things. It is also something which a part of your daily lifestyle, which can make you healthy. It actually promotes not going to the doctor if you are healthy. There is another advice from Dr. Kavita. Stop when you know you are not hungry. Don't eat till satisfaction. Combination of cereal and pulses properly will yield a complete protein profile to you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. What is the best time to drink coffee and tea?
Okay. This is something which you have to really think on. Most of the Indian people have, bedtime coffee or bedtime tea. So some people do it before brushing, and fortunately, some people follow it after brushing, but they don't eat anything before they drink coffee or tea. So what coffee or tea does is they are acidic in nature. So once they enter your stomach, they start, your stomach, even if a very small amount of coffee goes in, it has to digest it. So it starts secreting enzymes which are again acidic in nature. So it increases the acidity or the HCl secretion, to be more specific, and erodes your mucus lining of your stomach. So what you're supposed to do, always drink coffee or tea after your breakfast or after your meal. I don't say meal in proper. You can have, if at all you want to have, you can give a gap of 1 or 2 hours after your meal and then drink coffee or tea.
Thank you so much, doctor. Whether having 3 to 4 eggs per week can do good for B12 fortification?
Kind of, yes. Not completely, but okay. It will not definitely create deficiency.
Thank you, doctor. So there is a comment, excellent talk, really informative and relevant, doctor. So that is by Dr. Lavanya, who is a dentist by profession, but she works on integrative dentistry. Okay. So she works very closely with Ayurvedic doctors, and we have got quite some good results through her. And I would be very thankful for her for that.
Thank you, Dr. Lavanya.
There is another comment. Thank you. Was a very informative session. There is a question. What is the best time to drink cumin, coriander, and fennel tea for detoxing? Okay. Cumin, coriander, and fennel should not be mixed on the first note. So until and unless it is a food. So the best way to have dhania or the coriander seeds is you keep it in water overnight.
then macerate it well the next day and drink the water. So that is not hot water, it is the cold water. Okay, that is the way you are supposed to consume dhania water. And again, cumin and fennel, you can add very limited amount of cumin as well as fennel, that is not more than a quarter spoon, and drink water throughout the day. So I wouldn't call it tea, but it is nothing but a detox drink. So the amount of water should be more. Okay, it is not merely a cup of water and 1/4 spoon of fennel or 1/4 spoon of jeera, but it is the 1/4 spoon of jeera and fennel which is added to almost 1 liter and reducing it to half. So boiling it for that long time is the process which is very much required for it to work on your body.
Thank you, doctor. So there is another comment. Excellent information. Thanks a lot. Thank you, doctor. So, okay, there is a question. I'm 19. I worked hard to get six-pack abs and I got it. Will I get any health issues?
It depends on how you worked out and what was your diet pattern. So merely if you have survived on whey protein and protein shakes, bananas, almonds, so that is not the right way you get your six-pack abs. Definitely you can work out, and you are not supposed to overly work out also. So if it is over a period of time, then you would definitely not land up with any health issues. But if it is suddenly, I mean, if you have to get the six-pack suddenly, it takes minimum of 3 months at least. So that is the ideal definition of suddenly here. So that would cause a lot of problems. So you would land up with severe back pains on later stages.
Thank you, doctor. That actually reminds me of one of the classes by Dr. Kavita on exercise and health. So, Ardha Shaktya Nishevyastu Balibihi Snigdha Bhojibihi. So, the people who are used to anxious food, even and who are balibhi, who are having good health and strength, even they should be going for Ardha Shakti Vyayama. When it is, that is the best way of keeping oneself healthy. So that remember. So with that, I think we are coming to the end of the question and answer session. So there is a comment. Thank you very much for your valuable information, ma'am. So with that, I think I see that it has been a wonderful session. Quite a lot of interaction did happen here today. I think all of them are very satisfied with the answers as well. They have all mentioned it after your answers. So I would like to say that KS Warriors Ashtanga Ayurvedics MD is also here, Mr. TVS Warrior, as well as our medical superintendent, our senior most doctor, Dr. TVN Warrior. So I would first ask Mr. TVS Warrior to put in a few words.
Dr. Bharti, it was a very nice session, very enlightening, and especially the B12 part of it, I was very keen because being a vegetarian, we're all supposed to be vegetarians. I understand that vegetarian diet, people who are very strict vegetarians will have B12 problem. That is what one of my neurologist said. That is fine. I find it very difficult to believe it, because you mean to say that all the millions of vegetarians in the world will have B12 problems?
Sir, unfortunately, yes, but not all the vegetarians will have deficiency of B12, but vegetarians are more prone to the deficiency of B12. I would like to put it in that way.
It was a very nice session, very enlightening, and I'm sure many of almost all the people would have had something to add on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I would like to ask Dr. TVN Warrior, our medical superintendent, as well as our senior most doctor, to please give a few words.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. Very nice presentation, Dr. Mahdi.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Then there are many points I have to tell, but time now. So just only one point just I have to mention here. Many people are taking milk immediately after night food. I don't think it is correct.
It is wrong, sir.
It is wrong.
Yes.
The same way, many are taking that is rice with milk plus pickles. Many I have seen so many, because they especially they used to give to these children to avoid shleshma vruddhi. See
Okay.
the complication in that.
Correct. So it is completely
May not be-
opposite action.
Yes, actually it is opposite. So we have to be very careful when we are taking this nidana.
Correct.
Just only in my experience, I have come across so many people doing like that. So those who are the doctors or that is people who are even though not doctors who are attending this session, let them be careful not to advise like this. Okay, very good. Thank you.
I would like to add one point to what sir said. So I have mentioned about turmeric tea, turmeric milk in the night. So
Yes.
that is just before bed. So your food accordingly, what I said is to be digested before you go to bed. So it is 3 hours before bedtime you're supposed to have food. So please keep that in mind. So I should have been more clear on that. Thank you, sir, for throwing light on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I would want to ask our beloved Dr. Kavita ma'am to give a few words on today's session.
It's a true sense. Thank
Thank you, Dr. Girish, for giving me an opportunity to talk. It was a very good and informative session. I knew Mahati would do it well. I told her. But to add on to vitamin B12 confusion, I think even vegetarians need not suffer from deficiency of the vitamin B12 because it is required in very, very, very little quantity. And the milk that we drink, probably the vegans are at most danger than the only vegetarians. We consume milk. If we are consuming milk in a proper way, we may not suffer from vitamin B12 deficiency. And also, if we keep our metabolism intact, if we are feeling hungry in proper time, and if we are very keen on observing what our body demands, probably we will not suffer from vitamin B12. It is only because we follow the watch to eat. And we also, take interest in having companies. We go to parties. We do not actually focus on what we are eating, how we are eating, and when we are eating. That's where we fail. And probably we suffer from not only vitamin B12 deficiency, but also from various other deficiencies. These days, what the other deficiency that is being highlighted is vitamin D deficiency. So again, lack of exercise. And she was talking about the nascent oxygen in the morning, but I quietly but differ from her opinion. Nascent oxygen is not really beneficial for health. But the main reason why Ayurveda says everybody should wake up in Brahmi Muhurta, not only students, is for the evacuation purpose. It is Vatakala, and evacuation is done by Apanavata, and that is aided if you wake up early in the morning. It's not in the morning, it is the last part of the night we are waking up. So probably your evacuation will be improved if you wake up in that time. And also, we don't go to walk. If at all it is about oxygen, we don't go to walk so early in the morning. And I prefer to improve your vitamin D, especially the D2 vitamin will be improved if you go to walk around 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock, somewhere in between, when there is strong sun rays, where UVB rays will be helping you to metabolize your fat into vitamin D. And that would be the right time if at all somebody is suffering from vitamin D deficiency. I think it's just you don't eat enough. You should listen to your body. Don't stuff too many things. Don't think vitamin A, B, C, D, E. Don't just think about them. You're not going to eat them individually. It will be there in the food, and you choose right foods in right time and consume them in a right way. And also exercise, undergo purification once a year at least, as per your prakriti, that will suffice. Don't think too much on every vitamin, and all the vitamins and minerals are required in very minimal quantity, not too much is needed. You have to think on what you are eating as your macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbohydrate. So that's the major stuff you should think on. And most of the time it is pharmaceutical business. That is why we will be thinking on too much of supplements and so on. So I think if we eat right in a right combination, it will be sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that insight. I would ask our Executive Director, Mr. T.R. Shashi to give a few words.
So honored to be here and talk at the end of the session also. So first of all, let me introduce Dr. TVN Warrier, who has put in 50 years of service. He was a 1971 graduate from Kottakkal College. And he has put in 50 years of service and he is here with us. So that is one point that I would like to make. Dr. Kavita, thank you for being here and supporting the talk and enlightening us more on the subject of vitamins. So Dr. Mahati, you have done a fantastic job.
Thank you, sir.
Fabulous in all ways, crystal clear in your application, crystal clear in your delivery, and crystal clear in every aspect of what you have said.
Thank you so much.
Very much for that. So we are indebted to you for that. We will definitely need more of your sessions. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Over to Dr. Girish.
Thank you, sir. So at the end of the session, if anybody would like to ask anything directly to Dr. Mahati, you can please ask. I think mostly we are at the end of all the questioning as well. So thank you so much, Dr. Mahati, for giving us such a good insight into healthy eating and healthy living. So that was a great talk. We come to the end of this session. I would ask all of you to please keep on supporting us with the future webinars as well, and keep coming. And I would like to, at the end of the session, I would like to also thank our IT support, eQuadrica and Mr. Vignesh in person for helping us in recording and keeping on giving us support in all these sessions. Thank you so much, Mr. Vignesh.
Thank you, sir.
So I think that we can come to the end of the session. I would like to bid adieu to all present here. Have a wonderful evening, and let us wait for another webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Girish, for this opportunity. And also I thank Ashtanga Ayurveda again. And I have also used your products. They're really good. Keep making more products. Thanks a lot. It has been a wonderful experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doctor.